I touched on reusable workflows earlier in the course, but I want to spend a little time digging into them a little bit more deeply because they're a new feature of SharePoint 2010 and incredibly useful. In earlier versions of SharePoint, if I had a workflow that I wanted to use on more than one list, I really either needed to use Visual Studio to do it, or I needed to do some research and download a pretty long article from the Microsoft site about how to take a workflow and attach it to a different list and change its GUIDs and things like that. If I have a workflow that I know I want to use in multiple places in SharePoint 2010, I just create it as a reusable workflow, one of two types of workflows that aren't, to begin with, attached to a specific list. So I'm going to create a new reusable workflow, and the name that I'm going to give to this workflow is really pretty easy because what we're going to do here is we're going to email a submitter. So send a confirmation email to the submitter of the current item. I could use this in a million places. I would write it over and over and over again as the first step in a workflow, so why not simply create it once and for all? And literally, for all lists, all libraries. Now, I can tie this to a particular content type if I wish. This doesn't make sense in this instance because I'm not going to just use it on documents and I'm not going to just use it on items. I'm going to use it very globally. But it's possible that I would want to create a workflow that tied to a particular content type, and we're going to talk about that in a later movie. But right now, I'm just going to leave it set for all and click OK. And then, step one is simply going to be to email submitter. It's a single-step workflow, not a problem. So action, send an email these users, and go get them. So workflow lookup for a user. The current item is always going to have someone it was created by, so this will work. But I want you to look at how paltry this list is of items that are available always. These are the only fields that we know are available in every single item and document. What its content type is, who created it and when, its ID that's assigned by SharePoint, if it has been modified, who modified it and when, and a title. That's it. Other than that, we can't make any assumptions about the kinds of fields that are available. That's an important thing to remember when we're working with reusable workflows, because if we need to be able to have fields at our disposal, we're going to have to find a way to connect to them. But right now, created by is going to work well for us. We would do everything else to address this email, new item or document, for example, and then all of our text. And you know how to do all of this to email a submitter. So here's our workflow. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And we have a reusable workflow available for any list or library as soon as I publish it. Now, in any list or library that I wish, I can go ahead and connect back to this email submitter workflow. That's how easy it is to create a basic reusable workflow. In the next movies, we have a little more flavor that we'll add to this process.